Hello, everybody, and welcome to A Song of Life and Death, a Game of Thrones recap. Today, we're going over Season 1, spoilers, theories, everything. Just Season 1, though, so if you're getting past that, don't worry about it. We're not going to spoil anything for you. So, David, what do you have for us today?
And book one.
So, overall impressions of the first season, we all watched it again, since we're doing the whole one episode a day. I fucking love this season. I'm so excited that we're going to be doing this. This is probably up there in my top 3 seasons of the entire series. Just the whole setup, the pilot is I think it was perfectly written, and it set up a bunch of dominoes that just take effect throughout the entire season, and it's just a giant cluster at the end, and
Yeah, just going back on like Season 1, I see like subplots or plots that are like still going on season 7. I'm just like, wow, that was so long ago that they set this up, and it's still paying off.
Yeah.
The intro to Season 1 is my favorite. The intro with the White Walkers, the haunted forest,
No
going
pun
beyond
intended,
the wall.
the cold open.
Yeah. Like it is
Yeah,
so well done.
And it was so jarring for me just going back on it, just like seeing the White Walkers and then not touching on it again until like Season 2 is in the next time you see a White Walker, and it's just like, where are they going with this storyline? They just forget about it because you just enthralled with all the politics that are going on in Westeros, or like King's Landing, and then you just forget about things north of the wall for a while.
You forget the big picture, and that's what the
Worried
beauty of
about
this
an
season
Iron
is.
Throne.
Yeah, I remember like I said on the last podcast, when I sat down with Manuel and we started talking about it, I'm like, I love that nobody cares but Jon Snow, and so it's like, because he's like at the wall, and so,
Well, he doesn't know yet.
not yet, but like the fact that they started the entire series with the White Walkers, and then they don't come back to it until like the end of Season 2, part of Season 3, like. It's like an afterthought, but it's the biggest
because there's so much
storyline.
drama happening and like within these humans.
Oh yeah,
and
then that's why
I can see that.
That's why later Melisandre comes out, because she's like,
Okay,
she's the voice of
we're
reason.
going a little further up, Season 2. Sorry.
No. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, that's why she was brought in, because she's always that whisper in the ear, like the great enemy. Like there's something really going on. But
So, what were your overall impressions, Manuel, of Season 1 after rewatching it?
it's a great season. It is. It's really good. The intro, because I'm re-listening to the audiobooks too. So the intro to the series was so close to the intro to the book. So that was fantastic. Even the character descriptions were similar. Though they did a fantastic job on the White Walkers. And I really enjoyed the acting. It's funny to see how young the characters were. It was so great to see how different Bran was, right? Because when you see him, he's so young and little. He's playing with Arya. And then when you get to the later seasons, you're like, oh, he grew up weird. You know what I mean? But it's kind of like watching Harry Potter. Like you see the first movie, and like Harry's all like, "Am I Harry?" He's all cute.
Especially when you rewatch it back.
Yeah.
I can see that.
And then you see him in the last movie, and you're like, wow, he grew up a lot. That's how I feel with Bran.
You really get to appreciate the series as a whole, having watched all the seasons, and then me recapping every year. Like, the writing was so good from the jump. They set everything up beautifully. It kind of falls off later, but I mean, it's from the jump, like you were saying earlier, it follows the book like chapter by chapter for the first season.
Because Martin wrote some of the episodes. That's why it was so good. J.R.R. Martin did. And D&D, David and whatever, David and Weiss. And Weiss, they also would listen to him a lot. So they worked very closely together in the first season. And that's why plus the first season wasn't as complicated. The first season, the first book were not as complicated as the rest of the books. So they were able to get as accurate as they could in the show. But then it all changes. Yeah, it changes completely for the next book. But how did you feel watching each episode?
It's one of the, I want to say one of the first shows, but it's one of my top, like, I guess 5 shows now where the first season just got me.
Yeah.
The first season, like there's so much to like and so much to fucking hate already. You know what I mean? Like just so much of people's characters gets shown in that first season. Another show that was like that to me, just to go off real quick, was weeds. Where the first season, I was just like, there's so much shit so much.
I remember that show.
Shit happening all at once, and so many characters and different perspectives and feelings on things. But what's crazy about this specific type of show and like what genre it is, it's like, I guess it's so much about like honor and speaking truth in your word or not speaking truth in your word and being a fucking piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like, especially in those times, which I fucking love.
It kind of like breaks down man like to its bare bones, like as honorable as you want to be or as good or bad. Like the truth always shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like your character shows.
Yeah.
And Game of Thrones is a great example of that. Because when you go from episode 1 to the episode 10, and how everything's so different by the end of the season, you see how all the characters change from Cersei, Ned Stark, Sansa. Like Sansa, she betrays her family, man. Like she for what she thinks is for the good of everybody else.
She's got that treasonous blood in her, man.
Poor thing, poor Sansa.
No, I have no
I'm
sympathy
saying
for her.
yeah, me neither. She's so naive.
She just wanted to be a princess, guys.
That's exactly why.
Joffrey's a piece of shit.
Definitely.
But he was bred that way.
It's true.
Oh, one of my favorite characters is Robin. Make him fly. Make the half man
Oh my
fly.
God.
I love that
The
kid.
10-year-old kid who's getting breastfed.
The titty sucker.
Yeah, the titty sucker. Yeah. My girl was just like, she's like, really? How old is this fucking child?
He's
And
like
then,
11
and
or
then
12.
Lisa's just there. It's like,
Yeah.
"What? This is my son.
Yeah,
Throw
yeah.
him out of the moon door. You know, I love that part.
I don't know if it was a
God.
prosthetic or not, but her tit just looked so fucking fake. I was just like,
It was a prosthetic.
I was like, what the fuck
I
is
don't know which way it
that?
was going, but the fact that you said her tit, like one tit.
Her teeth.
I mean, that's what all she had out was that one
Yeah,
tit.
she had that one tit.
Like when he's like tugging on her little string, he's like, I'm hungry. I'm
Yeah,
hungry.
yeah.
He's like, after your bath.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know much about the Tullys.
The Aarons.
The Aarons.
Well, she's married to an Aaron, but she's a Tully.
Are the Tullys supposed to be like? Okay, if they were from a state from the United States, where would they be from?
Okay, to me,
Like
the Tullys
Louisiana?
would kind of be they would be more like the Irish.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're all like redheaded and like fiery tempers and that no nonsense. Like, I'm Irish, I'll kick your ass. You know what I mean? That's all the Tullys
Yeah, because
are.
the Tullys are also Catelyn Stark's like family. So it's just like the two opposite ends of like crazy bitch and like distinguished like fine.
So I guess everybody has that trailer park sister. In the
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
Okay,
and,
gotcha.
And also, like in the Riverlands where they're from, they were constantly always fighting. Like the little houses and the rival families would fight a lot. So that's why they're kind of like rough and tumbler. And yeah.
So before we go on, I got some facts of Thrones for you guys. So season 1's budget was $60 million plus an additional $8 to $10 million for just the pilot. $8 to $10 million just to film one episode.
Beautiful.
Approximately $6 million was spent per episode, and recently announced season 8's budget is over $90 million. Budgeting about $15 million per episode for just 6 episodes.
That's Avengers money.
That is crazy amount of money that they've invested into this.
You know
one season.
how long each episode is for the last season? Is it like an hour and a half? Or
They're
something?
saying anywhere from an hour 20 to an hour and a half. So full feature length movies for each episode, which
Holy
is
shit.
there's gonna be a lot of deaths.
When did Game of Thrones first air? And what
All right.
year?
So
David.
yes, according to the wiki, David Benioff and David Weiss. So we'll just call them the double D's from now on. Whenever we're
D&D.
talking about the
Triple D with you, David.
hey,
My man.
we'll just call them the double D's going forward. They pitched it to George R.R. Martin in 2007. And so they said, we want to do a show, or they wanted to do a movie. He's been George R.R. Martin had been approached several times to make a full feature length movie, but he said companies were like declining it because it was too much substance. There's too much context. There's too many storylines, too many characters. They said they would have to have gotten rid of 25% of all the characters in order for it to make any sense.
And one wanted to keep Ned Stark alive.
Exactly.
One movie studio. I'm serious.
Yeah, they said he was too big of a role.
Who is that movie studio?
So what they did is they met with him, and the way that they had a 5-hour meeting at a cafe in like California, and the way George R.R. Martin said, "All right, these are the guys that are gonna take over my and make this show," was the last thing he asked. The double D's asked him was, "Who's Jon Snow's mother?" And he just like nodded and said, "Okay, let's do this." Because that is like the biggest question going forward is who is it?
And it still hasn't officially been released in the book.
Yes. So it was a huge thing, and they pitched the idea in 2008. I think it aired like a year later. They filmed. They spent a big budget on episode 1, which is like the $8 to $10 million, and HBO. They pitched it to HBO, and HBO hated it. So they said, you're gonna have to send it back. We're gonna do re-recordings, and they're gonna refilm it, and they had to refilm 90% of the pilot, so that it was good enough for HBO. And so with that, they got greenlit, and then
And change all the actors.
And changed all the actors. They scrapped everybody that was on
This
there.
was pitched in 2007, but not until or what year
It
was
went
it?
live 2 years later. Like, so insane.
Is there a way to watch this forbidden like lost fucking pilot?
It's somewhere, right?
It is somewhere. I'm pretty sure you can stream it because they showed it, and it was very like Full House, where it was like ba-da-da-da-da-da. It was like, "Hi, I'm Ned Stark," like kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
And it was apparently it was not good, and so they went back to the drawing board and they redid it from the ground up. And another thing, quick fact, is that George R.R. Martin was contracted for the first 4 seasons to write one of the episodes, like fully entire, like
One episode per season.
per season. Yes, and the Double D's were in charge of writing the other ones, and then they had several directors that they keep going to since inception to film the rest of the season. So I mean, fun facts with Game of Thrones.
No, it's awesome, man. I mean, it's think of the phenomenon and everything it took for it to get that big. But I think the secret sauce was the theme song. Like once that, I mean, I remember watching the season premiere, the first episode, and when that song started, I had it like recorded. I played it I don't know how many times after just to hear the damn song.
Damn.
It was awesome. But I mean, I love orchestra, right? So
I never skip the intro. I watch it every single time.
yeah, especially when the cities change. Did you notice that? Did you notice?
No, you guys told me about it.
Yeah.
And then I started paying attention. Yeah.
Did you notice it later?
Yeah.
Nice.
Quick fun fact about the opening credits. The opening credits were influenced by robots and mechanics of Leonardo da Vinci. The idea was that each family sigil is a gear making the location come to life. So I don't know if you see like the house Stark, it's just like tick, 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 and then everything starts to fun fact.
And also when you see the sun, like you see like rings around the sun in the intro, if you can pause it just right, you'll see the 3-headed dragon of the Targaryens being torn apart by the stag, the wolf, and the lion. Each one's grabbing a head. I mean, no, they're little details, but it's like when someone puts these details into the show, it means they really love the damn story.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice it like all the way until recently. Like I paused it and I really looked at it. I'm like, they are tearing the dragon apart, all 3 houses. That's pretty cool.
Insane. I don't know if you noticed this in the first episode, but in the first episode, after the beheading of the Night's Watch deserter, the Starks stumbled upon a dead stag with its guts hanging out and a dead direwolf that was impaled by the horns of the stag. It was a little imagery / foreshadowing for the end of the season where Robert Baratheon, whose house sigil is the stag, and who gets attacked by a wild boar across the belly. And Ned Stark also losing his head, who's the direwolf is his house sigil. He loses his head at the end of episode 9 of the season. So it's just a little imagery like from the beginning of the show. It's like first episode, and then they kind of like gave away the ending.
Funny how the stag had no children there.
Exactly.
And only the wolf did. Pity.
6 puppies too, 1 for each Stark kid.
Was there any imagery for the one that was it Arias?
What?
Wolf that they killed?
Nymeria? No, they killed Lady.
They killed Lady.
Which is Sansa's wolf.
Yeah. But was there any connection with that?
In a way,
Or
there
that-
is, because if you think about it,
Oh,
later it makes sense because it's like Sansa's made to pay for something she didn't do
Yeah.
a lot, and later it's like she keeps paying. So
That's what she fucking gets.
And also
poor
with
thing, she's like 12.
Nymeria, when Arya, they say that Arya lost her childhood when she let go of Nymeria. Like, she told her to go away, and that's when she becomes an adult and realizes, like, I'm just a pawn in this little thing.
This grand scheme.
Fun fact about Lady, the dog who played Lady, named Zuni, was actually adopted by Sophie Turner, who plays Sansa after shooting wrapped. So, small world.
Yes, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
But I still hate her.
Yeah, she's
Poor thing.
He's gonna keep defending her.
And in real life, she's like 6 foot. She's all like huge.
No.
She's all like, I'm Sansa.
She should have been a fucking warrior.
I know, dude.
No, I think, and then another character. I guess if I don't want to step ahead too much, but another character that I do like is, of course, Arya. I can see why now. You said one of my favorite characters was Arya. She's fucking awesome because she has a different way of thinking,
And she plays it perfect.
yeah, she does.
I mean,
and I've seen that girl in some other movies, but I can't name the movies, but I have seen her before because my girl saw her and she was like, that girl looks so weird. I'm like, oh yeah, she does. I was like, she came out in this movie we saw and you also thought she looked weird. And I'm like, but she's a great fucking actor. Like, she's awesome.
and it's the reason why these actors are so great is because now when I read the books, I hear their voices, man. So like when it's like Peter, not you see, I'm even calling it when it's Tyrion, I hear Peter Dinklage's
Okay,
voice.
yeah.
Or
So they help put
yeah.
that tone and voice into your head.
absolutely.
Now. That's so
'Cause
awesome.
they did a great job, like matching the. I mean, they couldn't go with the ages because in the book, like, dude,
it's fucked up.
Daenerys is 14.
Shit.
And Khal Drogo is the same age, so he's like, yo, statutory rape. But that didn't exist back then. I mean, in that world, there's no... once a woman bleeds, she's a woman. Like, once a girl bleeds, like she has her period, she's a woman. So there's no, like...
She's able to bear.
Yeah.
Warriors.
She bleeds, she's ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, sick white trash smoker
If
guy.
she bleeds,
Yep.
she breathes.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I wanted to say.
Fucking put that shit.
Yeah. That's insane. I mean, like, the ages... I can understand, like, okay, with the little scruff that Jon Snow has in the season, like, okay, he's 16, 17 years old, and he is 16, 17 years old in the show. And we also have Bran, who's 10. They say he's only 10 years old. And then Rickon is, what, 6, 7?
Rickon's 6 in the show, and in the book, he's 3.
Wow.
Oh my God, that's a lot of time.
Yeah. And I think over the span of the entire season... It's like it takes place over like 9 months or something like that.
Yeah, because he doesn't write about the traveling, so it's just assumed. I did hear something impressive, really quick. A Game of Thrones fact.
Yes. Hit me.
Well, one of the reasons they didn't show the wheelhouse because it was so expensive. Okay, so Cersei's wheelhouse when they're going to Winterfell in the book, it's like the mega Winnebago. It's like, I don't know how wide, 3 stories high. Like the king and the queen sit in that thing. It can't fit through the gates of Winterfell. So they had to do a rink-a-dink little gypsy wagon for her. But it's supposed to be like a mobile apartment. So I just heard that recently. So I'm like, holy shit, I didn't know. Like,
and
yeah.
you got to think about, like, it took them a month to go from King's Landing to Winterfell, which is like equivalent to somebody going from the valley and walking to Maine. Like, that's how far they are.
oh yeah, and Westeros, so you understand, it's like the tip of Canada to the southern part of Mexico or all of South America. But I like to use the Mexico, U.S., and Canada because that's where you get the north. You get Dorne, the Riverlands. Like it's you can relate to the climate.
I guess the thing I also want to like touch on is like, let's imagine ourselves being in those times. Like I understand they train because they get like the crow scrolls or whatever of the birds they send out to.
Yes, a raven.
Like, or a raven. Yeah. Like how great are these birds to deliver these messages to these areas that are so far apart?
I'm so glad you asked. I can answer that.
And it's just like oh, they're about to fucking pillage and destroy my city.
Send a
raven, and it makes it, and it fucking makes it.
What they don't really show in the show, in the books, they kind of did at first, and then they kind of got away with it because it would have kind of ruined the communication. But each raven is trained to go to one place.
Yeah,
that's it. They don't go and come back.
Oh, they don't go and come back?
No, like you have a bird trained to do that. And I think from what I understood, they have to like take the birds physically back to where they're from. So like if
it's a one-way text message.
Yeah, it's one way.
God.
So if someone from Winterfell wants to send a raven, they send it, and that's it.
How do you send nudes?
Someone has to etch it, you know. A whole day of etching your nude and then send it on a little paper.
I wondered out of all of those ravens, like which ones didn't make it and what messages didn't get. You know what I mean? Imagine that. Like what messages didn't come across, right? You know, if
my
that
grandmother didn't send me a happy birthday this year.
Yeah, but since it's a show,
remove a head.
Since it's a show, remove a head. But since it's a show, I understand that every single message has to get across, so we can continue the show and communication. But communication is such, and then I guess fire signals within the other, I don't know. I'm getting into season 2 now, but
Yeah. So what else do you have for facts, David?
I have quite a bit. So I do have. Let's talk about the wall. They show it a couple times. Well, obviously, Jon Snow's stationed at the wall. Can you describe, Manuel, what this, how massive this wall is in the books?
Okay, the wall. I want to say, isn't it like 300 feet thick? No, I forgot how tall. I don't know. I don't remember the exact like dimensions, but it is huge. It's really tall, and it was when it was built. It was built using giants and magic, like spells are woven into the wall. So it kind of does this like Antarctica effect that it's called when it weeps or it melts, but then it rehardens with the winter. So the wall kind of repairs itself over time. So even if it melts a little, it'll freeze again. And this is not really discussed in the show, but in the books, there's a time when Jon Snow, I'm just going to tell you this because it's important. When Jon Snow goes across the wall, he loses contact with his wolf. Like he can't feel his wolf. Also in the books, dragons can't fly across the wall. Like they don't like it. Like they fly and they're like, "Rah!" They like fly the other way. They can't.
Because of the magic?
The magic. Because remember, the books has a little bit of a heavier magical feel than the TV show. So there's a lot of prophecies and stuff that weren't really included in the TV show, but I'm going to throw those in whenever it becomes pertinent. But I will get you the dimensions right now, David. So because it is, it's like one of the wonders of the world. And then on the other side in Essos, near like, forgot, Jegos Nye or something, there's the 5 forts. And it's kind of like the wall, but it's 5 massive forts. Like, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of people can fit in each fort. Like, they're massive forts, and they were made for the same purpose. Boom!
Crazy. In the event that we did get anything wrong, please hit us up in the comments, and we will address them on the next podcast.
Yes, please, nerds, like, destroy my theories and tell me how wrong I am. And then I will correct it on the next episode.
So, since we're talking about the wall, the costumes of the Night's Watch, reflect an institution in decline. The clothes the men wore is the clothing that they brought from home, like whenever they were picked up, and they are in no way in any uniform. After Jon Snow arrives at the wall, he wears the same gear in every episode because that's what he brought with him from Winterfell. So, fun.
Until they take the black, though, right?
Until they take the black, and then they have like pelts and stuff like that they can actually wear.
Really quick, guys, the wall is 300 miles long and 700 feet tall.
700 feet.
Shit.
So, what's up? 300 miles doesn't seem very long to me because the north is like huge. So I don't know how it's only that. It should be longer. I mean, I think so because it's like that whole northern border. Well, let me pull out my map. No, I'm kidding.
Cool. So let's move over to Essos and talk about Daenerys, since we've been talking about Westeros. So kind of Viserys, her brother. I mean, there's only 2 dragons left at the beginning of the season. Kind of a cunt.
Oh,
Like,
kind of.
ultimate
like
cunt.
He's a piece of shit.
He's a
Pretty much
coward.
selling his-
I pity him out of everybody. I have the most pity for that son of a bitch.
Why?
Because he was made to be that way. Because think about it. He was an 8-year-old. Okay, when Robert's Rebellion happened, he was an 8-year-old when he saw his father go crazy, wanted to burn down the city. Everything he had. Okay, he was a Targaryen. And you kind of don't understand this in the first season, but the Targaryens were the ultimate family. They were the power of Westeros. Like, these MFs were, like, they could snap their fingers and they would summon the other great houses. So they could snap and there was a Stark bending the knee, a Baratheon, a Lannister, a Martell. Like, the greater houses were their bitch. So then Viserys was like, well, eventually I should be a king or a great lord. But then all that got taken away from him. Then his mother died, giving birth to his sister. And then they were poor, and he was known as the beggar king. He had to go and beg for places to live. And he was like a 10 or 12-year-old kid. So he would fill himself up with dreams of retaking Westeros just to keep him going. But then he became a real little crabby bitch. and it was horrible to his
Yeah,
sister.
I can see how you. Yeah, I can see how you feel that way. Like everything was stripped away from him. Whatever, anything he ever
it's
wanted.
It sounds bad, like white privilege, you lost everything. No. But I'm just saying it's so tragic because because of one man, because of his father, the Targaryens lost everything, like everything. So he's just, and then when they had to sell his mother's crown to eat. So think about it. He had to do everything just to get along. And what really tipped him over was when he saw how Daenerys was getting popular, how they loved her. And he was like, nobody loves me that way. But yeah, because you're a dick.
Yeah. And then they pour the fucking...
You want crown of gold? That was the best.
Here's your crown.
Yeah, it's you're right. I feel like Viserys just like started off as they introduced him to us and it's just like dick. And like, yeah, I didn't know the whole backstory of him like having to flee, because I know they fled Westeros, so I thought it was just kind of like, yeah, they have to flee, whatever. But it makes sense that all this shit happens, and it makes him into this hardened fucking like person that thinks that everything's owed to him because he lost everything.
Exactly. And remember, the Targaryens are inbred, so they kind of have like that madness in them. And you can see, when you get the clearest picture of how he's like messed up is when before Drogo crowns him, he's like, I will give you army. And he's like, oh, that's all I wanted. Like his emotion changes.
Yeah. Really,
like,
on a
see
spin
that he's
of a
crazy.
dime,
Yeah. So you're like, this pigeon lost its wings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, no. And that's where you can tell where like he was just, he knew he wasn't going to get anything back, but he kept telling himself he was. And that's pretty sad.
Yeah, I can see. I can understand now why someone can feel that way towards him.
And that's why Daenerys was able to change, because she didn't grow up in Westeros. See, and also these kids were educated since they were like young children. So it was like, it's your right to rule. You're the leader. You're the best. You're the Targaryen. Oh, now you're a piece of shit and you have to go beg for a meal. So in his mind, he's like, they stole all my lands, everybody. But then he doesn't know everything his father did. So he had to pay the price for his father's sins, in a way.
And then Daenerys over here fucking...
She played it smart.
Yeah. And she's the mother of dragons. And
she's the mother of fucking dragons, man.
Which is fucking insane. Like...
Yeah, well, and then... Okay, because the dragons died off about 110 years before. So to think that... And that, remember, the dragons were the seeds of Targaryen power. And
you can't fuck with a dragon, dude.
They're flying nukes.
I mean, that donkey from Shrek did.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh.
He actually did fuck
He
with
hit
a
it.
dragon.
That cute kids, too.
Yeah. Little dragon donkeys. Dronkies.
Drunkies.
Drunkies.
But those aren't canon.
Those aren't canon. Are they not canon to Shrek?
No, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
But yeah, dragons were like the ultimate weapon. Like they're the nukes of the world.
It'd be like dropping a modern day tank into like the Civil War.
No, it would be like throwing a nuke in the Civil War.
Yeah.
That flies. And
So-
it's not wasted. It can nuke and nuke and nuke and nuke and nuke.
So then would you just say then that the Targaryens with their dragons and then
Okay.
the North with this magical wall?
Let me pull out my history book real quick. Let me just... Okay, when the Targaryens first try to conquer the Lannisters and the rulers of Highgarden, which were the Gardeners, not the Tyrells, but the Gardeners, they had I don't have the number, so correct me, some nerds. They had like 400,000 or 300,000 men. Like, it was called the Field of Fire. They had all their men ready. And then the Targaryens had maybe 10 or 20,000 guys and one dragon. So I think it was one of his sisters, Aegon the Conqueror's sisters, flew over the field and burned everybody. Everybody. They all got burned. And then when the Starks found out, like, this is before Ned Stark, of course, they bent the knee. They're like, you know what? We don't want to fight with you here. We'll join, whatever the fuck. We're in the North. We don't see you anyways. So that's how powerful one dragon is, and they had 3. So that's why they took Westeros. They're like,
This is coming from the books?
this from the book, and I'm pretty sure everything that's pre the TV series, like in the books, is canon to the show. So
Yeah.
it's canon also.
So like those 3 eggs, are they the offspring from those dragons?
You sort of. I don't know if you want me to go there, but I
Because they
we'll get
hatched
there.
already. Oh my bad. I'm already in.
No. You can if you want. I can.
That's the last scene of season 1. Is
Right?
them
Yeah,
hatching.
that's right.
Yeah, the dragons hatch. Do you want me to go into this real quick, guys?
Really quickly. I have the thing right here.
My lord.
So, the Drogo's funeral pyre. So, at the end of the season, obviously Daenerys' husband died. She sacrificed her son to bring him back. He came back in a vegetative state, so she put him out of his misery. Obviously, killed him off with a pillow, suffocated him. So her intention was to commit suicide by walking to the pyre with her dragon eggs because, like, that's it. She lost everything. And she also lost the Dothraki because they kind of like imploded on themselves with Drogo passing. And so, yeah, it was the funeral pyre was constructed so that it could be lit multiple times. The design was intended to be like this grand with two circles and eventually spreading to the center of the structure. And they would do a take, burn it, like spray it out, and then redo the whole thing. And it was just like this whole big old thing.
But
Pyrotechnic.
Can I ask here? Was it factual? It was factual that she went in there with that motive to do suicide? Because doesn't she grab the egg from the fire and it's not burning her, and there she realizes before
Well, really quick,
that moment?
in D&D terms, Daenerys is fire resistant, not fireproof. So she can take a lot of heat, but she's not immune to being burned.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I can get into the thing.
But
the
do you know
funeral.
what I mean?
Yes.
Because at that point, I think because what's the man that's by her side? The
Jorah
Mormont.
Mormont.
okay, well he's saying like you'll get burned, or you'll I forget what he says to her, and she responds in a way where she knows she's not going to.
Dragons don't burn or something like that, right?
Yeah. So is that factual that she went in there with that motive to? She lost everything. She's just
Yes.
Yeah, she was going to commit
She
suicide.
wanted to commit suicide.
Okay.
And she accidentally did an ancient ritual.
Go ahead, Mama.
Yeah, she kind of did an ancient ritual. Like she didn't because once she sacrificed a magical bitch, fucking Mira Mazdor, evil bitch. She sacrificed herself, and she had 3 dragon's eggs in the pyre. And then there was someone so like basically all the elements so it was like blood, fire, love, magic. It was all in there. That's why she came back out and the dragons woke up. So I mean, it was like an accidental ritual with all these specific parts that she happened to have.
Wow.
Yeah. So
What are the fucking chances?
No, it really it was. And in the books, her hair is burned. I believe she comes out with her hair burned. So I'm pretty sure. Correct me, nerds. So I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Like, yeah, like it's just like, oh, we need all these ingredients. I just so happen to have all these ingredients and just put them in a pot. Fucking, I mean,
Metaphorically.
Yeah, and just like it just happens that she comes out with fucking dragons. Because it was so cool. Also, like the fire's burning and she just walks in, and then it dies down, and it's in the morning, and then she's just there like sitting with her fucking dragons. Like, what? Like, what the fuck?
Because remember, she's Valyrian, and the Valyrians were big magic users with fire and blood, and that's why their motto is fire and blood. The Targaryens, because they come from Valyria. But I mean,
and then the fact that, well, now that I'm hearing this, that it's basically happened by accident, the ancient ritual, like how much of a role she's gonna play in the future seasons.
how cute, you don't know yet.
I guess not.
I mean, yeah, it's
Basically,
Because she has the formula. Like, to me, she has the formula to be a powerful leader or whatever it may be with the dragons. You know what I mean?
and we're going to
'Cause the
get
dragons are
into the crazy theories later, but all this has been pre-planned for generations. That's all I got to say. Like because of this and this ancestor did that, blah, 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 and then that leads to Daenerys. Yeah, it's
So everybody's
good.
playing their little fucking game, but it's already been mapped out.
Yeah, even to the point that there's the great games being played between the Great Other and the Lord of Light. That's how Game of Thrones, this whole series is. Like, even the gods are playing their own game. So,
which when we do the whole theories podcast, I want to talk about the new gods and the old gods.
oh yeah, definitely.
Cool. So yeah, let's go back to Westeros for a minute. I wanted to ask Manuel to set something up for us. So as soon as Ned arrives to King's Landing, I think it's like in episode 3, he's summoned to be with the High Council after traveling for a month. On his way, he is stopped by Jaime Lannister in the Red Keep, which is the throne room, right?
Yep.
So can you set up some context and some motivations for these two characters, Manuel? What happened the night that the Mad King started killing people along with Ned's father? Like, why do they hate each other so much?
Well, he hates the Lannisters. Ned Stark has a hatred for them. He feels they have done everything dishonorably from the beginning of Robert's rebellion. From when Tywin Lannister didn't show any support for Robert at first, he stayed neutral. And then when the Targaryens were practically defeated, that's when Tywin comes in, takes the city, we forgot about Aelia of Dorne. He has her murdered. And Aelia of Dorne was married to Rhaegar Targaryen, who was killed by Robert Baratheon. Okay? Aelia of Dorne was think of her as a beautiful Spanish princess, right? Everyone from Dorne already has a royal title. They're not high lords, they're nobility. They're all nobility, they're royalty. Because the Dornish have connections to the Rhoynar in Essos, but we won't get into that. So by Rhaegar Targaryen marrying Aelia of Dorne, it was when what's her name married the Prince of England, whatever. It's like a big deal. Like they're all nobility, they're all royalty. Sorry. So when a Lannister had her children murdered and her raped and murdered, Ned Stark was like, how could you kill children? How could you, Tywin Lannister, order the murder of these kids? And then your son kills the king through the back. So already it goes against everything the Starks believe in honor. It's like, you son of a bitch, you cheated, you betrayed, and now you have, and then real quick, when Ned Stark goes into the throne room after the city's fallen, he finds Jaime Lannister sitting on the throne. So he's like, oh, I was just keeping it warm for you, Stark. And he gets up. But in Ned Stark's mind, he's like, all the Lannisters have done is betray, and they get to the top. It's not fair. We're here honorable, freezing our asses off, and they live in medieval California, and they get what they want with gold. You know what I mean? So there's that distrust. Because the Starks and the Lannisters have allied before in previous wars, but they've never had hate. They were just in two different worlds. Mm-hmm. But with the Robert's Rebellion, that's when Ned personally had an issue with the Lannister family. So
they talk a lot about Robert's Rebellion. Can you fill Alex in as far as, because we're gonna learn about it a little bit later on in the upcoming seasons, but is there anything just to set up for season 1 that we could spoil with the book? Okay, so
the textbook version, the preschool version of it, of the whole Robert's Rebellion, was this: there was a big tournament, and Ned Stark's sister Lyanna Stark was there in attendance, and she was
Robert's
considered
love.
Yeah,
he loved her,
and Robert was betrothed to her, right? Mm-hmm. Lyanna didn't like him, and he's a dumb jock that thinks he's whatever
frat boy. Yeah.
Well, he's a frat boy. So then when Rhaegar shows up, who gets slain by Robert later, he beats everybody in the tournament. He's he's not the jock. He's like the Prince Charming all the women want. And then he goes up to the girl next door, which is Lyanna Stark. She's like the beautiful girl next door. She's down and nice, and she's kind to everybody and honorable. So when Mr. Showbiz, Prince Charming, shows up to her and gives her his favors, it's a scandal. It's you're already married to the Spanish princess, and now you're giving this country bumpkin, not really, but compared to the other nobility, you're giving this country bumpkin your favors. And then you later kidnap her and rape her. So that's why Robert's F this motherfucker. He stole my girl, and his father killed. Oh, and then you don't know that. Well, after Lyanna Stark gets kidnapped and raped by Rhaegar, Ned Stark's father and brother go to King's Landing, and they confront the king. They're like, yo, why is my sister kidnapped? Why are you doing this? He's oh, you don't agree with me? Fine, tie him up. He's you're going to have to face my champion. So he has Ned Stark's father, Rickon Stark, I believe, tied up, right, to some weird contraption. And every time he moves, he gets choked more. So then he tells his brother, Ned Stark's brother, you have to fight a champion. So if you want to do, what is it called? The champ, when the two warriors fight? Tyrion did it. Tyrion had it done. And I forgot the phrase. When they judge them between two champions, when they fight, and the winner gets free. What is it? My God! Anyways, it's the champion, right? So
Trial by combat.
trial by combat. Okay, so this motherfucker's like, if you
okay.
do a trial by combat, you can go. So then Ned Stark's brother's like, fine, I'll fight. And you know what the king says? My champion's Wildfire. So he burns him to death. In front of everybody. In front of Jaime Lannister, in front of the court, everybody. So the fucking Mad King chokes the head of the Stark family to death and burns the son in front of everybody. And then his son kidnaps the Stark sister, who is betrothed to Robert Baratheon. So these motherfuckers are like, fuck you, Targaryens. You want to be crazy and shit. So in order to cement their alliance, they start marrying each other. So they get the two wannabe Irish girls that are redhead, fake titty bitch, and Catelyn Stark, who I love. So Catelyn is supposed to, well, she was going to marry, of all getting gossipy right now, right? So like Catelyn was supposed to marry Ned Stark's brother, but since he's dead and burned, she marries Ned. Lisa Tully was supposed to be married to Jaime Lannister, but it doesn't happen. So now she marries Jon Arryn, which is an old fuck. So that forms the alliance. So it's Baratheon, Stark, Tully, and Arryn against Lannister, Martell, and Tarly. No, what is it?
Targaryen.
No, it's Targaryen, Martell, and the other one. Growing strong. Fucking the Gardeners, the other dudes. Tyrells. Thank you,
Yes,
Fernie.
lay up.
Tyrells. Yeah. So that's what happened.
Shit, that's a lot of. That's
There's
a big
still
mess.
more.
That's a lot of mess.
It's
I'm
a
sweating
huge-
because I'm going into
It's
detail
a
right.
huge clusterfuck from the jump.
Yeah, so basically that's what happened. So it's all these but remember, these events aren't factual. This is what they think what happened. They think she got kidnapped and raped. They think this happened. They think that happened. So the war was based on a lot of hearsay.
Medieval cheeseman.
Medieval chisme, lo máximo.
All right, guys, since we've pretty much talked about all of our favorite things and had a bunch of facts, before we go into the War of Our Grandfathers, which is what you're going to talk about with your notes, let's talk about the badasses of season 1. Do you all have any honorable mentions or anybody who stood out to you? Because I have a list here of people I want to talk about.
Let's do it.
Cool. I have one of my personal favorite characters is Bronn, the sellsword, the mercenary. He's the one who does the trial by combat for Tyrion. Syrio Forel, the first son of Braavos, or first sword of Braavos. He's the Arya's dancing instructor / swordsman. Probably the baddest motherfucker on this list is Sir Barristan.
Sir Barristan, sell me, man.
The old Knights. He's a part of the Knights Guard. The old man who was there by Robert's side when he gets attacked by the boar.
He's the head of the King's Guard.
Head of the King's Guard, and then it's
Okay.
He's the one that Joffrey dismisses. Like, go retire in your castle. Yeah.
like
Yeah. And he's pissed about it.
He's pissed. Like, I'm not Sir Grandfather.
Yeah.
You know.
He's a badass, like hands down one of the greatest warriors of all time. And then you have Jaime Lannister, who's also a bad motherfucker when it comes to combat. Jon Snow, I mean, he was like,
He's a brooding goth kid right now.
yeah, he is. It's true. It's a little
That's
emo
good.
with a little curly hair.
We don't understand me. You know.
We have the Clegane brothers, the Hound and the Mountain.
Dude.
Love them, Sandor and Gregor. One of my favorite character, second favorite character of the series or season, Tywin Lannister. He's a bad motherfucker. The imagery with him, because it's all his fucking doing, when he's butchering the stag, when
Symbolism.
symbolism to its finest, because it's all him. It's all about his name. He stabs the stag in the gut.
Is that when Jamie's talking to him?
Yes.
Okay.
And he's talking about his family and it being all about like the future of their legacy. He's like, nobody cares what wars you've been in. He's like, it's all about your name
And what you
going
pass
forward.
on.
Yeah. So Tywin butchering that stag, very symbolic.
And really quick too, the Baratheons were upstarts. They're the youngest of the noble house of the great houses. They were made by the Targaryens, while the Lannisters and the Starks are like OG. So he's kind of like fucking peasant house. I'm skinning you. Okay, just throwing that out there.
And then Cersei. Man,
Cersei.
she cannot be fucked with. She is
Cersei.
a badass. Cersei, the queen, to Joffrey's mom.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Like,
bitch.
yeah, seriously. Like, and she has this whole like aura about her where like you have her, like you caught her, like when they're in the garden and Ned's telling her like, I know that you and your kids are not illegitimate to the throne because they're Jamie's kids or whatever. She doesn't even like smirk or anything. She's like, I love my children. And I'll do anything for them. And like, I believe it.
Yeah.
She's a crazy bitch.
And I think it was more cemented when like Ned brings the paper from like from Robert Baratheon.
Oh, his last will.
Yeah, he's like, this is his last thing, and she just like reads it. It's like, all right.
So a piece of she's like a piece of paper. You think a piece of paper will protect you or some shit?
Yeah.
I mean,
I
Robert
forgot
fucked up.
Who protested that tearing up of the paper? Was it Selmy? Because someone's like, that's the king's written will, or was it Pycelle?
Yeah, it's like
it's Selmy. Yeah,
It's Selmy, right?
yeah.
Like Robert fucked up by getting rid of all the witnesses.
yeah, he did.
It was just
It
him
wouldn't have
and-
mattered.
And the hand.
But also, did Ned Stark write something differently than
Yes,
what he
said.
said?
He said Joffrey, but he
Joffrey.
wrote my heir.
Yeah. That's
my
right.
hair, not Joffrey.
So he also made his own adjustments because he thought of what was right.
For love. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. That I have that theory. Like the Stark's weakness is love, but we'll get into that.
And I mean,
Well, it is because he like real quick. That's why Ned Stark died because he loved his daughter. He's like, for love, I'll say I was a traitor.
Yeah.
Off goes his head. And then you'll see it repeatedly. You'll see it with Catelyn. You'll see it with Robb. You'll see it with Sansa. You'll see it with Arya. So they because of love, something bad happens to them. How sad, right?
so yeah,
Those are the badasses.
those are the badasses of season 1. Any honorable mentions?
Littlefinger.
Yeah, little prick. I hate that guy.
But I mean, badass in the sense that you find out, well, like, you know what he does. You know why everything's happening.
So you can't trust him ever.
And that's why he tells Ned Stark, he's like, by you not trusting me was the smartest thing you could have done. You know?
When he has the dagger to his throat. Crazy.
Maybe like Khal Drogo.
Oh my God, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Hello.
I mean, I looking back on it, I was like, okay, Khal Drogo was only badass for like an episode or two, like, you know, like that's the only thing they gave him, like, but he became such a fucking like cornerstone of Game of Thrones. Like every fucking cosplay, everything, in some way involves Khal Drogo, Game of Thrones wise.
It frustrates the hell out of me because he's such an overrated like.
You think so?
Character. To me, he was overrated. Like I don't fucking care
Whoa.
about him.
I
I
don't
don't
think
care
he
He's
was
about
the
him.
head of the biggest Khalasar, and his chongo was all the way to his knees.
And
he
he is
never
now
lost a battle.
Aquaman.
Dude, no. And you know what's so funny? I'm not about murdering or rape, but when he was giving that speech,
But.
I wanted to join his Khalasar. He's like, we'll rape their women and we'll take their land. I'm like, yes, we will.
Yes, we will.
And then I'm like, and it's gone. And it's gone.
Because especially when he steps up against his own, one of his own from the Dothraki, and he gets, which ends
Well,
up
because he
being his
fucking
demise.
because Daenerys had Mary Mazdor fucking work on him. You don't understand what this bitch is from.
He's like a fucking genie who's like, wish whatever you want, but it's not gonna be what you want. Ultimately, it's gonna be like the bear, like
a maester that's considered to be questionable with his dealings, trained with her, like to learn dark magic. Like she's an evil fucking bitch. Like it's funny how by chance Daenerys ran into her. Like
and saved her from,
she
from
goes,
being
"You saved
raped
nothing?
and fucking
You raped my children. Okay, you burn. But
Yeah. That's why I say Khal Drogo. Like he's only badass for like a episode or two, but he's just like a big phenomenon.
And he gets like cut up by a subordinate. Like, come on, man.
Wow.
That guy
I
wasn't-
mean, no, he kind of like he gets like
he gets cut. He lets himself get
and
cut.
he fucking and
He got
takes
pecs
it.
of iron, man. He can get cut all he wants.
He just like, here, you wanna cut me? Cut me.
Yeah,
Do
let's
it.
do this.
I fucking dare you. I fucking dare you. Do
I didn't get this chongo for nothing, dog.
I'll wrap it around your neck. You're like,
Yeah,
Hey.
it. When did he become cholo?
yeah. What the
What's
fuck?
up? What's up, Holmes?
pinche cordadita is nothing, bro.
Yeah. Ponle Vix. He said.
Ponle Vicks.
Yeah, where's the
Gee.
fucking witch?
All right, since we already went through the.
Oh,
badass-
sorry.
Sure.
I would also want to add Jorah Mormont. Just
Super badass.
he's
Meh.
he's in this season
He's
he's not.
dishonorable.
I
He's not-
apologize. 'Cause I'm still trying to keep up with all the names and
Yes.
you know.
You're good.
The blonde guy who's with Daenerys, right by her side. The one.
Love him.
He's not like a big part of like Daenerys's like thing, but just having that voice of wisdom by her side, I feel like that made him a badass in my book.
The way he would say Khaleesi.
Oh,
I
yeah,
loved
yeah.
it. Oh my god! I'm like,
He's in love with her, right?
And
He's totally in love with her, dude, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
creepy.
And
It's
speaking of
friend zone
like,
to the
Why
max.
was he with the Dothraki?
He wasn't. He was with Illyrio Mopatis. He was with
Viserys.
He was sent to help Viserys.
Oh, okay. I didn't get that from.
When he says he has ears everywhere and he's got spies everywhere, he's one of his spies.
Dude, you said that good too, though. Khaleesi.
Khaleesi.
Yeah.
And speaking
Dude.
speaking of not knowing like names of that was me off first season. First time I watched it, I gave everybody nicknames because I couldn't remember their names.
Yeah, like right now when you said Daenerys, I already knew who we all were talking about earlier, and right now I was like, "What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that?" So I'm still trying to keep that image of their face in my head and who they are with the name, you know.
Yeah,
So,
for the first
I apologize.
for the first 3 seasons, I just did that. I gave everybody nicknames, and then like sooner or later, like it could just cut on like, okay, this is this person, this that person.
Yeah,
But it's always like Danny, Drogo,
hair guy.
Yeah, just something. I mean, you know the basic ones,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like Jamie is like fucking Sir Lancelot, like whatever. Like just something dumb.
So, what does Khaleesi stand for? Queen
Khaleesi is the wife
And
of the
Khal?
of the Khal.
of the Khal?
I thought
Wife,
her name was
yeah.
Khaleesi from the.
That's what my girl thought
For the
too.
whole
I'm like,
season.
her name's not Khaleesi, and she's like, yes, it fucking is. She looked it up. I'm
No.
like, her name's Daenerys. My nigga.
Dude, did you know? Okay, fun Game of Thrones fact, like this for David.
Hit me.
After the first season, it was like a record number of little girls being named Khaleesi. It's not even a name, I know, right? It's like, Khaleesi, get back in that trailer. Like, we're going to be hearing that soon.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
Fun fact from upon another podcast that I listened to, incest porn on Pornhub went up like 5,000% after Game of Thrones came out.
I believe it.
It's fucking
But
disgusting.
it's safe to say that it's not real incest porn. It's just clickbait, kind
Yeah,
of for the
it's
person
clickbait.
who has that fantasy.
It's like, you want to wake the dragon?
Or it could be. I mean, I was thinking about that. That sounds weird. I was thinking about.
Oh
that
yeah,
the-
check his search history. Check this
I
guy's
was thinking
search
about that the other
history.
day too. Like, it's just like, did is this porn kind of like go up because of Game of Thrones, or was it just like it was thrown out there and you see and then you see the thumbnail, you're like, it looks pretty good, so you just click on it and you don't pay attention to the
Or
story.
maybe just Game of Thrones made it okay, and people were like, you know what?
yeah, or like you're not watching porn for the fucking story, so you don't care like the setup of it.
Yeah.
You just like you scroll past the first 2 minutes, you see the blowjob, then you scroll another 2 minutes,
God.
and then you see like you see the penetration, and you scroll another 2 minutes, and then you see the fucking. Cup
Wait,
shot.
was this Drogo and Daenerys? Oh wait, we're just talking about porn, right?
so,
But it's a
And they have to look alike, so it's brother and sister. So they have to look alike.
but it's
Okay,
all.
I'm sorry. I wanted to ask a question. In the book, were Jamie and his sister twins?
Cersei.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. An
Yeah?
important thing, they looked alike. Like when they were children, they looked the same. Like they couldn't tell them apart. So Jamie in the book is like a beautiful, not handsome. He's a beautiful man, like perfect features, and Cersei's beautiful too. So they're both very good looking.
Okay. I wanted to know if they were twins or just brother and sister.
No,
so it
they're
makes
twins.
sense that they're fucking,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
because
it's
like what she
looking
said,
in the mirror.
because
They
what
even
she
say that.
what she says in the show, she's like, we came into this world together. Like
We're gonna-
you know,
yeah.
it's like kind of creepy.
Because it like that was one of my like Mountain Dew get hype moments of the entire season. Was fucking first episode they introduced the Lannisters and he's like sister, and I'm like sister, okay, cool. And then at the last scene you see them having sex,
Yeah.
and I'm like, ew, what the fuck's happening?
So that happened to me where I was still understanding the names and who they are, and then I saw them. The son of the young, I forget his name.
Bran.
Bran.
Okay, he catches them in that tower, right? Like fucking and shit. And me and my girl saw them, and I was kind of like, okay, they're fucking, like whatever, you know. And then I see Tyrion. I don't know how to say it. Tyrion. He walks into when all the Jamie and his sister. They're all at that table
Eating
talking.
breakfast.
Yeah, they're eating, and he's like, "Hello, siblings." And I was just like, "Oh fuck, wait, they're fucking siblings. They
Yes.
fucked each other." And I was like, "Oh no." My girl was like, "Wait, what happened?" I'm like, "They're fucking incesting motherfuckers. That's what happened."
That's how they're so beautiful. Like, and they introduced these two extremely attractive people in the same scene. And I'm like,
So-
he's like, hello, sister. And I'm like, what the fuck?
yeah.
And a side note, their dad was married to his cousin. So just to let you know. Tywin was married to his
So
own
then
cousin.
Joffrey's, he's already a mad fucking fuck.
Joffrey is inbred as Inbred can be.
Yeah, that's like the epitome of inbred.
He's got the definition of like punchable face.
Oh
Just-
yeah.
just
His
the-
tiny
No,
little fucking
in the
chin.
book, he has like a round face, pouty lips, and curly blonde hair. So you want to punch him more because he's real little bitch face in the books,
And it's
and
kind
he
of
pouts all the
it's kind
time.
of like an open secret, like that Joffrey and the rest of the kids are Jaime and Cersei's kids, but like it's just nobody can prove it.
Well, not so much. It's later. Later, it's kind of when Stannis spreads the rumors. That's when it happens. But
Yeah.
at first, everyone just thought they took after their mother because Robert was so fat and ugly.
Yeah.
So
And I think that's what John Aaron was doing when he was
figured
going.
it out.
Yeah, when he was going around and looking at all his bastards, and they all had the black hair, and then it was so. I mean, of course, they don't have internet and they don't have like DNA tests and shit, but it was just kind of like, oh, you could just see who's kid because of their hair.
That's why they had that book.
well,
Yeah.
that's why Martin kind of says like the great houses kind of have like a mystical DNA. So say if you marry a Tully, your kids are gonna kind of look like the house, like one of the houses. Like it won't be a mix. Like you know how us Mexicans like one dad, like one parent's
Yeah.
light, one's dark,
Yeah.
and then the kid comes out blonde. Like that won't happen in Westeros. They'll look like one of their parents.
I wonder what house takes priority though. Like if it's a Stark and like you know.
You know what? And that it's funny because in House Stark you'll see the different. Like most of them come out Tully except for Arya. Arya's the one that looks Stark. The rest look Tully. So it's funny. It's funny. Yeah.
And John also. He looks very
Yes,
Stark-like.
John looks Stark. Yep.
So, right. We also had a lot of character deaths this season. Notable ones, obviously, Ned Stark. Man, shocking.
I'll never
That's
forget
what
when I
got
saw
me
that.
into
It
it.
pissed
Yeah.
me
From
the
the jump.
fuck off because I liked him a lot.
I thought Yorn was gonna jump on stage and save him and be like, "Arya, run! Let's take your dad!" And
I
it
thought
didn't happen. I'm like, "What?"
I was telling him that when me and my girl saw that scene, yeah, the blade swings down, but before it actually slices him, it goes to black. But you hear the slice, and I was like, wait, no, maybe they didn't kill him. I was trying to convince myself.
I was doing that too.
And I was like, wait, they didn't kill him. I'm like, it's fine. I fucking loved him. I really liked him for that first whole season. Like he just seems really noble and like, you know, courageous and like, you know, strong, very strong. And the next scene, you see his fucking head on the ground. I'm just like, oh fuck.
No,
I'm like-
Joffrey. Here, let me show your father's head, Sansa.
Yeah,
It's on a fucking pike.
It's on a pike.
Oh my god.
And then
that's what got me.
and also what hates me about him even more about Joffrey. I'm never supposed to hit my queen. So he gets his fucking assistant.
The Hound.
The
Yeah,
Hound.
he gets the Hound to fucking smack her. Dude,
It's so
you're
good.
kind of a
love the
badass. like, it's
That's
fucking-
pimp shit.
But yeah.
No, but like getting the thing that got me into Game of Thrones was the fact that they killed off their main character in the very first season. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, they kill him off. Like you haven't watched it? I'm like, no, I have no idea what's going on. They're like, dude, he's on the fucking cover of the poster and on the DVD cases, and they killed him off. I'm like, no.
And for a long time, he was like the meme, the winter is coming meme, where he
Yes,
has his sword.
on the throne. Yes,
And now I can understand that
with
fucking
ice.
meme. Yeah.
so cool. I mean, that was
It
shocking
did
to me.
that did hook me into the just all right. This is gonna be because I'm still gonna have to watch it because of the podcast, but it's still like opened my mind even more. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a good show. I'm gonna watch it.
There's a lot of
And it was great that
Nuance.
it was the second to the last episode of the season, because it doesn't leave anything like, I mean, a sort of every episode kind of has like a cliffhanger where you're just like, oh fuck, I want to watch the next one, but this one was just like, good, it is not the last one, so you don't have to wait a whole fucking season to watch the next
Yeah.
one. I mean, now we don't have to, but back then it was kind of like, oh shit, did he die? Yes, he fucking did. Like, you're not left with that, oh, maybe he's gonna save him. Because I had the same thing also where, like, okay, the executioner's gonna lift up this fucking sword, and then somebody's gonna shoot him with an arrow, and like everybody's gonna be like, oh, what the hell, and escape and commotion, and like he's just gonna run off, or somebody's gonna come in and save him at the last second, like every fucking movie ever.
Yeah. And I agree with you because it is good that it's the second to the last episode because you get this jaw-dropping scene, and then on the very next episode, the dragons are reborn, and this whole time dragons are a myth, and it's all a giant talk of just like, oh no, it doesn't exist anymore. So it is great that it's a
And what's
last
so funny,
episode,
they keep
second
that
last.
formula every season. So every season you're gonna have a badass episode 9 and 10.
Yep.
Like it's so I kind of envy you how you're just barely going through it again. So So awesome.
It is awesome.
We also had the death of the king, Robert Baratheon. We had Viserys Targaryen, which is Daenerys' brother. I mean, the crown of gold.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I say
Awesome.
it was like one of the best deaths I've seen in a while.
It was so good because he's like, no, ah! He just stops screaming and he just goes limp and it's like, his head clinks on the front.
Kind of going back on like how like fire was what did you say, fire doesn't kill a dragon or whatever. Like he was no dragon. Like fire doesn't kill a dragon. Like Daenerys said to one of the helpers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was parts where like Daenerys gets in that bath and she's like, oh, like don't, like it's too hot, and she just like
Walks in.
Yeah.
walks in, and when she's holding the eggs like from the chart, like she's kind of like hypnotized by them, and she grabs them and like she's holding them.
And then her helper's like,
Yeah, her was like no, and then like she gets
got
burned.
burned, yeah.
She gets burned, and then I guess she kind of realizes like I'm immune to this fire, and then I think it was Viserys grabs something and he gets burned, and she kind of puts two and two together, like he's not the dragon, I'm the fucking dragon, and I think that's when her confidence goes up to stand up to him.
and also when they're in that hut and Drogo's over there on one side and she's sitting by her with her helpers, they're communicating to each other. He's asked her brother Viserys is asking for or his demands or whatever, and she's telling that to Drogo, but he's telling her something else, and she's like, oh yeah, you'll get it. Like remember that where he's like telling it to keep him calm at bay, and really he's just gonna fucking kill him. And which is like fucking.
She knew it.
Is when you right there is where Daenerys is like, you know what? I don't fucking need you.
Because he broke every rule.
Yeah.
He walked in with a sword. He shed blood. It was like, you're gonna go, dude. Like I already warned you. So
That was a good scene. That was a
Very
great
good.
scene.
And then
Sorry.
we also had the death of Khal Drogo. And then we have a couple of missing in action. We have Benjen Stark. We never saw him die. I
he
mean,
just leaves to the north.
yeah,
Like,
he's been out there for months. His horse came back, and we never saw him again. And then we also have Syrio Forel, who's the first sword of Bravos, which is the bank in Essos. And he's also Arya's dance instructor. I think he's one of the best characters also in in this season. I don't know where
He was very
if he'll
eloquent.
ever come back.
I forgot how short he was. Like
Yeah.
just seeing him kind of like almost being as tall as Arya and just taking on fucking men pretty big with a wooden sword.
Yeah. And then the fact that you do hear somebody like getting stabbed,
but you
and
don't see who it is.
you don't
though.
see who it is. So I hope I'd like to hope that.
yeah. Even in the books, he never comes up. So we don't know if he's gonna show up.
I
Later.
think it's that kind of character where you just like you don't want to kill him, but then you don't want to say he's not.
Yeah,
Alive.
or maybe he did his duty of like maybe he didn't die, but he doesn't have to come up again. He gave Arya time. You know, he gave Arya time and like let her escape.
Yeah.
I thought it was so weird how everybody knew, fuck, shit's going down. Like, when he hears the clink, 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 he was like, he puts Arya behind him, and he puts his sword up. And also when...
It's like two clinks and you're fucking protecting someone already?
Exactly. And then he also, you hear like the running and like the screaming when Sansa and her handmaiden are walking together. And she's like,
Go to your room.
Run, go to your room, don't open it. And I was like, fuck, like, how did they know? Like, these elders know.
I think looking back on it, I think it was just kind of like it was a big commotion, and like it's a city, there's commotion every time, but it's not every day you hear like clashing swords and people screaming, because when they were raiding not raiding the city, but when they were kind of clearing out all the Starkmen and all the things, like they just kind of went at full force and took everybody with them, and then when Syrio was defending Arya, he's just like, oh, why, like you're, because the King's Guard was like, oh, your dad sent for us. It's like, well, then why didn't his men come for him? And it's like, well, don't question me. It's like, no, I'm gonna question you.
That's good upbringing too, right there.
Yep.
I mean,
Very cool. So, Manuel had done a lot of research prior to season 1. So, full book spoilers going forward for this last segment of the podcast. You've been warned. I mean, if you've been listening to us this long, I mean, buckle up. You're in for the War of the Grandfathers, which is, approximately how many years before
Okay, well,
this season.
kind of like what sets up everything was it's called the War of the Nine Penny Kings. And I won't get into why it was called that, but basically it was like everyone's granddad was involved. So you had because Tywin Lannister is a granddad, like his grandkid is the king, right? So you had like Tywin Lannister, you had Peter Baelish's dad, you had Kevin Lannister, Tywin's brother.
Who's there?
Yeah.
Who's there in the season, like when they're
Right.
planning?
You had
yeah.
Prince Aerys. Before he was the Mad King, he was the prince. So basically, all these guys got together to fight Rebel Targaryen. They're called the Blackfires. There were a group of Targaryens that were like mainly made up of bastards, and they wanted to take the Iron Throne for themselves. So there was a nasty war, but that kind of brought all the High Lords together. Like everyone worked together to defeat these Rebel Targaryens. So there was a lot of camaraderie. You know what I mean? Everyone kind of got along. That's when Tywin Lannister and Prince Aerys became close. They were like good friends. But then later, the madness started taking him, and then he would always try to offend Tywin Lannister. And it put him over the edge when Sir Ilan Payne, the executioner, said the real man who runs the Seven Kingdoms is Tywin, not the king. So he had his tongue cut out. That's why he lost his tongue. Mm-hmm. So and then when Tywin got married, his wife got groped and molested by the king. And then later, during the tourney of Harrenhal, when someone becomes a Kingsguard, you know what that means? Like you know what happens when they become a Kingsguard?
No, I don't know.
Well, it's kind of like becoming a Night's Watch. You can't marry. You lose all your titles.
Okay.
So Jaime Lannister, who's the Ken doll of Westeros, got that taken away from him. Boom. So in one move, the Mad King took away all of Tywin Lannister's plans in one move by making Jaime a Kingsguard. He couldn't marry Lysa. He couldn't inherit Casterly Rock. He couldn't have all that gold. It had to go to Tyrion, who he hates. So that's why later Tywin shows up and fucks the Mad King and takes the city and kills all his kids as revenge. But Ned Stark doesn't see it like that. He's like, fuck you. You fucked everyone over. You betrayed them. He's like, no, I'm paying it back. Mm-hmm. Because revenge is a dish best served cold. So there's that. So that's how the War of the Grandfathers kind of like, that's why when the Robert's Rebellion happened, it hurt so much more. Because it's kind of like saying our grandparents were best friends, but we hate each other. You know, because of all the betrayals and the intricacy. I can't say it.
Intricacies.
Thank you. And I mean, and for spoilers from the books, there's a lot, but it bleeds into season 2 and 3. So I don't want to say too much because I don't want to ruin an aha moment. But one would be like Daenerys. I can talk about Daenerys' eggs.
Sure. Okay,
so look, the last book that came out is called Fire and Blood, right? It's about the history of the Targaryen kings. Well, what you find out, and this is pretty cool, Fernie, there was a lesbian lover of a Targaryen princess, right? And she wanted to sail around the world, but she needed money and she needed a boat. So what is the most valuable thing on the planet? Dragon's eggs, right? They're like little nukes. So this bitch steals 3. She goes to Essos and she somehow sells them. Guess who ends up with them? The Sea Lord of Bravos. So the head of Bravos has the 3 dragon's eggs. So eventually one of the hands of the king shows up to Bravos and says, hey, if you happen to have 3 dragon's eggs, we would happen to buy them back. And he's like, well, if I happen to have them, I would sell them to you. But alas, I don't. But he did. Somehow, Illyrio Mopatis ends up with the 3 eggs and gives them to Dany. So what does that say? Is it prophecy? Coincidence? In the Game of Thrones, no.
Yeah. I mean, it's a season 2 thing, but it's the comment. Like, you know, like...
Well, that... yes.
Yeah, we're going to get that in season 2.
Yeah, that's when it gets real good, dude. But so basically the dragon's eggs and then the ritual, think about it. It was kind of like things were set in motion. And then you find out later how Bravos has always kind of been involved because it's called a free city, but technically it was never part of the Valyrian Freehold. If I get too nerdy, guys, stop me. The Valyrian Freehold was like, think of if Greece and Rome were an empire kind of melded together with magic and dragons. That was Valyria. They were like the chingonotes of the ancient world. They toppled the Giscari Empire, which was kind of like the Persian Empire. But anyways, So these Valerians were assholes. Like, they were powerful. They were gluttons. They just loved magic. They would sacrifice people. They had people working in volcanoes to mine whatever. So they were horrible. They had tons of slaves. Like, the big slave trade comes from the Valerians. Well, groups of slaves escaped in a boat, and they founded Bravos, and it was hidden. So the Bravosi hate Valeria because Bravosi are the sons and daughters of slaves. They're the one that created the Faceless Men, which are the assassins. Well, according to one myth, they're the ones, the Bravosi created the Faceless Men to kill the sorcerers of Valeria and cause its destruction. Since there was no more wizards or sorcerers to keep the magic alive, it caused the whole continent to explode. Thus started so Valeria fell, and what was left were the free cities like Lys and Pentos and Tyrosh. And the Bravosi, that fucking little town, caused the fall of the greatest empire that was ever in Westeros. So they're always involved somehow. And then they're the bankers of the world. Like, hello. They almost own they have a debt with almost everybody. Like, everybody owes them money. And if you don't pay, they send the Faceless Men. So they're like, fuck you, man. Like, you give us our money or we're going to kill your parents or kill your family or something.
This is all from the book.
This is all from the book.
It sounds so insane.
It's
it sounds
super
interesting.
good, dude. It's so good.
It kind of upsets me how they not neglect, but they just didn't do anything with Illyrio. Because in the books, Illyrio and Varys are behind pretty much everything.
Yeah, we'll get to that because I don't want to. Okay, well, you see a glimpse of it in season 1, so I'll touch it. Yeah. So okay, so when
you just said touch it, you started to smile.
and I'm like, hey. No, I'm kidding. So when Arya sees Illyrio Mopatis and Varys talking, because they planned the Targaryen restoration. They want the Targaryens to take power. They hate Robert. They're like, fuck you, man. They want the Targaryen, because when the Targaryens are in power, and people don't know this because they only know about the Mad King, but most of the time when the Targaryens are in power, everyone had food, the roads were safe, like life was good. With Robert, it became kind of like backward, like
an orgy.
Yeah, like an orgy. Fuck it. Yeah, I mean, the houses always fought with each other, but there was a central power that was keeping everyone in check. And with Robert, he's kind of like, leave me the fuck alone. I want to drink and whore. Like, whatever, guys.
He just seemed like he don't
just don't fight. We're cool.
Yeah.
So there's kind of that. Like, so you find out later how the eggs that were stolen come back to the Targaryen, because it's implied that only blooded people can have dragons. Not Targaryen, Valerian. Sorry, Valerian people can have. Targaryens are a family of the Valerians, and they were a poor family. Did y'all know that? Targaryens were nothing. They were exiled to Dragonstone. They left. Well, they left because there was a dream, a prophecy that the continent was going to be destroyed. But they were like the least influential of the Valerian families, and then they became the most powerful family in the world for a while.
For centuries.
So it's fascinating.
It's all timing too, because right now where we're at in the series or the season, Westeros has been in summer for the longest period in a long, very, very, very long time.
However old Bran is, he was born in the summer. How old is Bran?
10 years.
10 years.
10 years. So the way seasons work in this world, for some unforeseen reason,
magic.
The winter can last decades, summers can last months, and so that's why you hear it throughout the entire season. Like Ned's like, winter's coming. Winter's coming. We need to start preparing. We need to unify. We need to start getting everybody together because we need to prepare for the inevitable. And yeah.
And another theory is Cyril Farrell. Okay, I wanted to say it. They think he's a faceless man because you never see his body or he's dead, because the faceless men can change their appearance.
But we don't get into the faceless men until later season.
At the end of season 2.
I want to watch right now.
Let's go. Yeah, just go home and binge.
Do you have any other, like, any mysteries from season 1 that I can probably spoil that it doesn't spoil the other seasons? Is there any questions?
I don't think so.
I think we've covered pretty much everything.
What we didn't touch on, I don't think we touched on it in the podcast, or not. I wouldn't even have to, but just I forget his first name, but the Greyjoy,
Oh, Theon.
Theon. He's just like a lost cause
Well,
in the midst of what's happening right
Yeah, and
now.
I didn't talk about that, but after Robert becomes king, the Greyjoys rebel. They rebel, and then I call it Avenger moments. Like all the heroes of like Westeros join, so it's like Jorah Mormont, the Fire Priest. I forgot his name. Something of Myr, whatever. Like they're all there. Robert Baratheon, Ned Stark. They all go to the Iron Islands, and they kick down the door of Balon's castle, and they kill his sons, and they take Theon as a ward.
They took him.
Yeah, they took it. Oh yeah,
I thought he was saying to his dad that that he gave him away.
Well, this is what happened. He basically, because the Ironborn are like Viking pirates, right? Like the Greyjoys. So when they invade, they tell Balon, who's the head of the house, he's like, look, we killed your 2 sons. If you want your 3rd son to be alive, he's going to come with us. And you're going to fucking kneel, and you're going to behave like a stupid-ass squid that you are. So he's like, very well. So he gives his son to Ned Stark, of all people. And Ned raises him. But they gave him to Ned, so he was raised right. So whenever he takes the Iron Islands are ruled justly. But they're asshole. The whole population's just bad.
I can't. Like, yeah.
Some people love him though.
He's to me, the things he does is unforgivable.
The idea of even the sound, how it sounds, the Iron Islands, it sounds cool to me.
Yeah.
It sounds really cool.
No, it's cool, dude.
And I mean, if you're saying they're like Viking pirates, I like pirates.
Yeah. No, really, dude. There's a lot of fans that are Greyjoys.
Yeah.
Okay, what house would you be, David?
Lannister.
You'd be a Lannister?
Yeah.
You?
I think I would say Greyjoy.
Greyjoy? Okay.
Yeah.
What's up? Y'all can both be Greyjoy.
I do like the idea of it. It sounds cool and it looks cool. But I mean, I like the Starks too because they're just in the cold and then Winterfell in the north.
Because of the books, I would be Martell or Baratheon. Because of the books. In the TV show, I'd be Stark.
Love it.
Yeah.
Just 2 weapons of note, just to put it in your all's minds. They talk about 2 weapons, and one gets kind of like as an afterthought, but the dagger. There's some importance about it.
The Valyrian steel dagger?
Yes, Valyrian steel. It's made of dragon bone.
The one that they try to kill Bran with.
Bran with, yes. It belonged to Littlefinger. Littlefinger lost it to Tyrion in a bet during a jousting bet, and then
It's given to a hired thug.
a hired thug. Yes, and that's what sets the war of the.
That's where Caitlyn gets kind of like I feel she was one of the most manipulated women in the series. Caitlyn, like she just fell for everything. You know what I mean? I love the woman, but like it's like, and when she's finally giving good advice, they don't listen to her. So that's her tragedy. Like, cause she fell for the bait a lot of the times, and I don't want to tell you what bait, right? But she fell for the bait, and then when she figures certain shit out, they're like, "Shut up, mom, stay in your room," you know. So it's kind of. It's funny. It's sad. She's one of my favorite characters in the book, like hands down.
Catelyn. And the other one is Ironclaw, right? Longclaw, which is Mormont's sword that Jon inherits for saving his life.
Oh yeah, Longclaw. Yes.
Oh yes, yes.
The Mormont sword.
Yes, but those are the 2 weapons of note, and we'll be doing
ice.
And ice, yes. We're going to be bringing the weapons up ever at the end of every season when we do our recaps. That way we can talk about like the importance of them.
I should have brought Longclaw.
Next part. We'll put it.
I have one. Yeah, I have Jon Snow's sword.
Damn.
I want to get Robert Baratheon's Warhammer. They sell it. I want it. It's so awesome.
All right, guys. I want to close off the podcast by a quote from Cersei Lannister. It's going to go a little like this. When you play the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die. There is no middle ground. How cool is that?
More wine.
Cold. That is cold as ice.
Cold-blooded.
It's cold as ice. Crazy.
All right, guys. Remember to check us out on YouTube at Laugh and Death Podcast, Instagram at Laugh and Death Podcast, right? Twitter at Laugh and Death. Let us know what you think. If you have any theories, any questions you have, we have our expert here so he can answer us. If we get anything wrong again, comment down below in the comments. Let us know how we did. I think close it off for today.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys.